Do you want to hit? Wonderful. All right, so here we go, everybody. I am absolutely delighted to be with you today to present this jaw-dropping webinar with who I believe to be two of Canada's, I think, most powerful or connected female leaders, Jennifer Koury and Heather Culbert, who are the co-founders of an organization called Board Ready Women. So they're going to explain to you about the benefits of becoming a member and sharing with you some of their advice on how to build a network with your Canadian executive network, so to speak. So Heather, her background, and just to give you a background, I was reading through their bios prior to this, and I'm thinking, wow, higher landing has to pinch itself for actually being able to attract such incredibly accomplished women. But Heather is, she's board certified. She's an independent director. She's got over 27 years of experience, originally starting in the oil and gas sector. And she's held senior positions in the sector. Formerly, she was the senior vice president of corporate services at a company called Enerplus, which is a mid-sized oil and gas company. She's also served as interim board chair and vice chair on the board of Export Development Canada, EDC. Some of you might know that organization. And she chaired the HR committee. So she was also recently appointed to the board of the Fraser Institute and Catapult Environmental. She chairs the United Way World Leadership Council. She's a member of the She Leads Economic Council of Alberta and is past chair of the Alberta Research and Innovation Advisory Council. She's also past chair of SATE, the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, and past director of Whitecap Resources. Woo! She's also been an active volunteer and philanthropist for many years, and she's co-founded and chairs both this organization, Board Ready Women, and another organization that I hope she explains a little bit about, which is called Access Connects. And that is also another not-for-profit organization in Alberta that seems to be expanding roots right across the country as well. She's now co-chair of the Calgary Cancer Centre campaign with a goal of raising $250 million. She's served on many not-for-profit boards over the past 15 years and is a recent recipient of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee Award. What Heather doesn't know is that I'm really I'm going to twist her arm to hopefully have her join one of our Grizzly Dens as a panelist. So you can look forward to that, Heather.
I'm happy to do that.
On another note, we also have Jennifer Koury, who I've known Jennifer for years. What a gift on so many levels. I knew her when she was in HR, also in Alberta's oil patch. She too is an independent director. She has more than 35 years of professional experience building C-suite leadership roles and international experience with the world's largest mining company. Some of you might have heard of it, BHP Billiton. And she's also worked with Enerplus Resources and Exxon Mobil as a senior executive. And currently she sits on the board of directors for Crescent Point Energy. She chairs their HRC and is a member of their governance committee. She's also sits on the board of Bird Construction in Toronto, chairing the HR and governance committee, and she's also a member of the EH&S committee as well. She's also a member of the board of the Calgary Zoo as vice chair and is one of the co-founders of this amazing organization that you're going to learn about today called Board Ready Women. She's also served on the Women in Mining Canada board as co-chair from April 2017 to April 2021. So she holds a commerce degree and honors from the University of Alberta and has her director's designation, which they call ICD, and maybe you ladies can explain a little bit about that as well, from the Rotman School of Business, University of Toronto. And most importantly, Jen, we are so grateful to have you here because of you being a former Grizzly in our Grizzly Den and recurring panel member. So that really warms our heart. So on that note, ladies, I thought that I would pass the baton to you and you can start your presentation.
Okay, well, thank you for the fabulous introduction. We are absolutely thrilled to be here to share more about what we're trying to do for women in Canada and around the world. Jen and I started this with Linda Holhall. I'm sure many of you know who Linda Holhall is. She is currently the chair of ICD national Canada. And so we really were frustrated with the fact that there were so few women in Alberta, particularly, that were on, there's very little gender representation on boards in Alberta, which doesn't surprise many of us that are in the sector, because we know oil and gas can be an old boys network. And by the way, that is not an insult to any man that is on this call. It's just the matter of the way it is. But we were just super frustrated because we had all sorts of C-suite women in Calgary that were very, very, you know, eligible and had all of the qualifications to be fantastic board members. And so we became very passionate about how do we change this in a very dramatic way. So we were just wanted to be very, very intentional about how we could move the needle to get more women on boards. And so we started this 5 years ago. We're a nonprofit. This is not intended to make any money for anybody in our organization. We do charge a membership fee because we do have administration help. And I just want to welcome Katerina. Katerina, I saw you earlier. Katerina is our executive director for Board Ready Women. And so we do have administrative expenses, but that's basically all you're covering because we have fantastic sponsors. So we were really frustrated with 12% women in Alberta on boards. And so our intentional process was just by tapping into a broader and more, we wanted to tap into a broader and more diverse talent pool because we knew we had it. We knew we had very qualified women in Calgary, and we wanted to bring attention to the incredible women that we had in Alberta. So we really wanted to tap into a broader and more diverse talent pool because we knew that that equated to governance improvement, strategies that are more comprehensive, stakeholder relationships improve, and ultimately profitability is enhanced. And those are all known benefits of having a diversified board, including gender as well as other, racially or ethnicity, BIPOC, et cetera, representation. So that's what we're all about. We just want to create a great value proposition for corporations by raising the awareness of the talent and experience that these people have by creating this network of women to connect to these opportunities. So since we started 5 years ago, the percentage of seats in Alberta has moved from 12% to 25% today. And in Canada, it's increased from 17% to 27%. And we've achieved some significant milestones and had a lasting impact, we believe, with gender diversity on boards. And I wish we could take full credit for this increase, but as you know, shareholders really want diverse representation on their boards. They feel that they know that there's a benefit to it. And so government has also made it a priority to increase diversity on their crown and their provincial boards. And so that's also a great opportunity. So we believe we offer an incredible value proposition. And since inception, so 5 years, we've promoted 710 board positions on our website, including 43 not-for-profit, 45% crown, and 12% for-profit. We've assisted 127 companies with 257 searches for positions and shortlisted 1,182 board-ready women members, with 60% of those organizations choosing a board-ready woman for their organization to be a director. We've had 26 educational and networking events. We've had over 2,500 people that have attended those events, both men and women. We are an inclusive organization. We encourage inclusiveness, and we believe that, and that is how we also conduct ourselves. Men are a fantastic conduit and connector for us to board opportunities. And so us working together with them makes the opportunity set grow much larger, and they've just been incredible, I have to say. We've also mentored over 100 women using our Board Ready Women mentors, women with 10 years or more experience. We also have 350 members from around the world. The majority are from Canada and the US, and we also have some from Switzerland, Poland, and Dubai. So interesting that we are expanding that direction. We have now forged a partnership with IWF, International Women's Forum in Canada. whereby we are partnering with them to go to various cities across Canada and have board ready women, introduction to board ready women, and tell people what we're all about so that we can continue to grow our database and that pipeline of talent. So we are thrilled to be able to do that at our first. We've already expanded to Edmonton, Toronto, and Montreal are intended for April. We're going in April, as well as we're going to Ottawa, next week, and Vancouver after that. So we are already in the process of expanding, and that is going really, really well. So people that are members are people that are on boards, people that are looking to get on boards, people that want to help us find opportunities on boards, corporations who want to be a part of how to, be aware of the talent that is out there other than relying on recruiters. And oh, by the way, we also have recruiters as members because they want to know where the talent is. And so as a member, we share your information, and it is something that everybody's aware of with recruiters on a monthly basis so that they can actually use your information for board searches. And so we absolutely get nothing back from that other than the satisfaction that we know that we've expanded the connectivity to the board opportunities. So some of the types of events that we offer, for example, this past year, we did a speed interviewing and speed mentoring session, which was very, very well attended. We had over 25 recruiters there, and we basically just let women go, bring in their board CV, have their elevator pitch ready to go, and sit down with the recruiter and get some direct feedback. And so that was a 15-minute session. Then they moved on to mentors. We had 10 mentors there where people could go in and talk to that mentor about anything, whether it is how do I get connected to certain people, I have this issue, I'm on a board, how do you help me? There's all sorts of things that people were talking about in those sessions. So that was an incredibly successful event. We've had board roles and executive compensation, effective year-end governance for boards and executives, board's role in sustainability. I'm sure some of you have heard about the Competent Boards certification that's out of Toronto. It's a GCB.D. And again, we have a strategic partnership with them as well, because again, this is a skill set that is expanding and that we continue to see the demand for. So these are areas that we like to partner on. Culture in the boardroom, shareholder activism, what does it take to be an effective board member, proxy advisors. So all of these things that we feel are board hot topics, and we have those events quarterly. And typically, we have 100 or more people there, and they're held either in person and virtually. So members can log in from across the country and be a part of the webinars as well. We also offer, as I said, the quarterly hybrid style events. We maintain that database of your qualifications, the experience you have, the skill sets that you bring to the table, the sectors that you're associated with, and we keep that information up to date so that when we do have search requests from recruiters, or organizations, which happens all the time, we can provide our top 10 list of people who fit that criteria. So we do that on a regular basis, and we've done quite a few already this year. Katerina Sekharova, I don't know where you are, but I'm sure she could tell us exactly how many we've done this year, but I think it's a significant number. We assist board recruitment by that curated short list of extraordinary candidates based on the criteria that best fit their board composition. We share that Board Ready Women database with our recruiters that we have partnerships with. We have a mentorship program, and these are highly experienced board members that very, very, much in the cone of silence will help you or assist you with any board questions you may have or any, ideas on how to get on boards. We have just a huge repository of information and tools and resources on our website that, of course, anyone that is a member has access to. We have boardreadywomen.com is the name of the website, and it's really easy to just go in there, $300, fill out your profile, and then you're good to go. You'll get all of the newsletters, all the information about when we're having the sessions, and certainly certainly welcome to come to any of those. But we're super excited because we really do feel that the value proposition that we're offering is great for women in the world. We believe that this is one area where we can really improve, basically just making people aware of the incredible talent that we have in our country and otherwise. So so we're super excited. We have made an impact and we will continue to make an impact, and we're growing. So it's a very exciting time for Board Ready Women.
Heather, thank you very much. And then I know that we'll get to Jen in just a moment. Obviously, it sounds like there is extraordinary value for $300, which is nothing compared to probably the investment of time and resources that you and your organization provide. So thank you very much for sharing that. Quick question. I know that a lot of guests here today are professionals from pretty much every industry, every demographic, from recent grads all the way up to mature workers. Can you tell us, like, is there a limit to who you would recommend become a member to your organization? Like, are there restrictions? Is this just for, I know that a lot of people, view, oh my gosh, you're on a board, you must be really important, or you must be really smart, or you're really educated, or really senior, or something. Could you just maybe comment a little bit about that?
Certainly. I mean, everyone is, of course, invited to be a part of Board Ready Women. And depending on where you are in your career, you could be just kind of looking to, branch out and maybe go on a few boards before you retire or before you change careers or whatever it is, wherever you happen to be on your career journey. We do have a lot of not-for-profit opportunities, and that is the best way to get started on a board if that's something. And that is open to all ages, all genders, it's a fantastic way for you to get governance experience. It's a fantastic way for you to get connected to other board members and start, again, this is all, for me, the most important thing you can do in order to be a part of boards or to become, connected to that group is to network. And we offer every single time we have an event, we offer at least an hour of networking time that allows people to get to know one another. So no, there's no, we encourage people to come that are kind of looking to start their board career, but it doesn't mean that you can't come and learn something before you're ready to do that. Certainly we can help with that. Access Connects, which is the other organization that we founded here in Calgary. We have something called, it's an organization that's meant to fill the talent pipeline by getting more women into decision-making roles. And so we really like to help with career development. We help with, again, connections, networking. We have a leadership forum every year. And ultimately, once a year, we have something called the Calgary Influential Women in Business Awards, where we recognize 5 outstanding women in various categories and 1 outstanding male champion that helps us with reaching out and branching out and connecting to helping women with the opportunities they have in their career and their boards. So Access Connect is kind of the talent pipeline for Board Ready Women. And so we've now started that because we need more women that have the experience in order for us to grow more than 30%. 30% is the target that everybody talks about. Well, what's wrong with 50%? We have 50% representation of population. Why not, continue to grow that but we need more women in decision-making roles. So that's the point of Access Connects. So you'd asked about that.
Quick question. You had commented on governance. Could you comment on the benefit of anybody acquiring governance experience on their resume? What is the benefit to that?
Oh, well, the benefit is that people will understand that you understand how to operate at a strategic level, and you understand how to, recognize risk, and that you understand, some of the higher, levels of leadership that require, organizations to go various directions and make certain decisions. So it's not just, kind of on the ground. It's more about how do you provide oversight to people that are executing on the things that you and the board decide are the right direction. So, and I think ICD offers a fantastic not-for-profit governance course. If you really want to get started, ICD has an incredible course. That's how I started. My first not-for-profit was on United Way, and that was an incredible start. And so you don't have to go and take the big ICD, the entire course, if you're not ready for that. If you want to just get started in governance, go and take the not-for-profit governance course. It's great. I highly recommend it.
Could you just, for those here that do not know what ICD is, could you just explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a national, well, it's actually international, I believe, Institute of Corporate Directors, and it provides a certification, basically that promotes the fact that you understand what it takes to be a board member. So when you have the actual director certification, it's about I don't know, Jen is actually doing more work on this right now, but I have taken it. It is an incredible course, but it's very expensive. And so again, it's at a certain time in your life when you're looking to get on a board where you will potentially be paid money. That's the time when you want to consider making that investment. It's a rather large investment, but again, these courses are just, the expertise that comes in and talks to you about real life examples and the frameworks they give you and the people you connect to, it's invaluable. It really is. So although it's very expensive. Jen, did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I would just say, thanks, Heather, that ICD is for Canada. They have a similar program in the US. I think it's kind of the standard now for certification for directors, right? That said, the other fallacy about the Institute of Corporate Directors, it is actually an institute, and you don't have to take the director's program for $20,000 because that's what it costs. You could actually just become a member of ICD.
Right.
And then you'd have access to their newsletter, all their tools and resources. They have resume, so it's a bit of a fallacy that people don't even want to join the Institute because they think that they have to take the director's education program. And like Heather says, they offer lots of other courses that are not 20 grand.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And they have, basically every week there's some webinar going on somewhere, ICD in the ICD program that are very helpful. They're very helpful. And again, hot topics as well. So that's a great organization, again, to connect to. And you know what? We like to collaborate with all organizations that are going to extend our network. This is not a competition. This is collaboration. That is what we are about, honestly. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to comment on something else you said, Heather, which I think was really important. Like, when you talk about demographics, it is never, ever too early to start sitting on a board. Because, the more I look back on my board journey and I wish I would have started sitting on boards much earlier in my career, just to kind of get that governance experience. Because the people you meet to be valuable to sit. I really encourage young says really from even something you're passionate about in your community or your city.
It does show real leadership, and giving back to the community is also the greater good. So it looks really good on a resume too. But it's not all about looking good on a resume. It's about what makes you feel like what suits you, right?
So really, why then, ladies, would someone really want like a individual contributor, mid-career, want to get on a board? They've had zero experience. They're hearing that, oh, it would be good to get, governance experience or networking or whatever. But underlying that, why should anybody, any woman aspire to become a board member or get on a board or or even learn more about what is involved in being on a board?
Yeah, I think I'll take that one. I think a couple of things come to mind for me. Like you're bringing value and all your skills and experiences, especially in the not-for-profit domain, which can make a significant contribution for good in the world. Um, and so I think it's a really cool way to give back. Um, I also think the what's in it for you is, as I said before, the kind of people you meet that are in those organizations and the networks you build, as well as the governance experience you get on, being, at a bird's eye view around an organization, I think is invaluable. And then of course, secondly, if you ever get on a for-profit board, not only are they leveraging your experience and providing, input on their strategies and the directions of the company, and you get paid for it. I would say it's not probably the reason you'll want to be on a board, because that becomes evident pretty clearly, because it's a lot of work. And some boards are.
What do you mean a lot of work, Jennifer?
Well, let me just take a typical board that Heather and I would sit on. At least 4 times a year for the profit boards on which I serve. There's probably up to 1,000 pages of reading. You have to sit on at least one, if not 2 committees. And the structure of a board is that it's made up of 3 or 4 different committees. And in those committees, they focus on very specific things. One of them might be finance and the financial operations. Another one might be environment, health, and safety. Another one is human resources, which is all about culture, talent, and compensation. And it's a lot of work. So, it's not for the faint of heart, because, it's not like a full-time job, but there are at least 4 times a year where, for about a week to 10 days of that time period, I'm either reading or sitting in board meetings. So there is work involved. And not to mention, in the companies in which you serve, you want to keep personally up to date with the trends of that sector, what's going on in that sector. You might want to attend some sector events or webinars to understand what that sector environment is going through and the challenges that that industry is. You want to keep up with that. So, people say, wow, it's so cool to be on a board. It is. And I think Heather and I would both tell you that we do it because we love it. But it is work.
So, Jen, a hot topic is like, what are the risks of being a board on a board, or are there any? I mean, we hear on the news, oh my gosh, they're trying to, blame the board for XYZ decisions. I mean, could you comment a little bit about that?
Oh, sure. You know what? The board has significant liability by board member for some of the key decisions that the board makes.
And is there a limit to the type of decisions a board can make before it bleeds into more of an operational aspect? Like where do you draw the line?
Yeah, it depends on the company. The CEO of a company typically has authority, spending authority, and decision-making authority up to a certain level, which is probably the highest level in that organization. But beyond that, especially for any significant capital that's being spent or decisions that are being made, all of those go to the board. So if something goes wrong with a product, if you're on a board that produces vehicles, if you're on a board that makes decisions that end up in environmental crises or those kinds of things, the board is liable. In fact, all boards.
So what would happen? So you say liable. What does that mean?
Well, we could get sued. For some offenses, you could get jailed. For
Typically, it's
now.
by the shareholder or by the stock exchange, like the oversight of these companies. So stock
That's right.
exchange, FinTrack, organizations that are oversight to, proper protocol, insider trading, that type of thing. Yeah.
Is
And
that common?
Not in
um,
Canada.
I don't think so. Yeah, like, it hits the press, right, Heather, in Canada when it's big, but it's not.
And then that's reputation. And you know
Yeah,
what? That's worse than anything else. Reputation is the most important asset that you have. And so you don't want to be associated with things like that. And believe me, it's run the other direction when you see an organization that is not, either you feel is holding back something or is not following proper, structure, whatever. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why you may not want to be on a board that has those types of issues, but reputation is the number one reason, right? So
absolutely.
liability is potential. It doesn't happen very often in Canada, but it does happen a lot in the States. Yeah.
I will say though, do you remember, Heather, back, what are we at, 5 years when cannabis has now been legal? Is it about 5 years?
Yeah, I
I
think so.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, when that first happened, there were a lot of organizations looking for board members. And I have to tell you, in the network that certainly Heather and I belong to, people were saying, don't go on a cannabis board.
Mm,
There could have been even challenges crossing the border,
right.
and you kind of get a bit of a reputation. And, I think they've come a long way and they've tried to professionalize their boards. But there's an example of an industry sector where there's still some board members that I know that will never sit on a cannabis board.
Mhm. Well, yeah, it has to align with your beliefs for
Yeah,
sure. Right.
you bet.
Interesting. Jen, is there anything else that you would like to add to the conversation before we open it up for Q&A to the audience?
Yeah, I guess one thing that I get asked a lot, and Heather does too, is like, how do you start your board career? Like if I wanted to, if I felt like I really wanted to sit on a board, how would I start that? I think I'd give you a couple of tips. The first thing is that you really have to understand your why. Like, why do you want to be on a board? Because um, in the interviews and as you start researching organizations that you'd like to potentially be on a board with, um, it you got to have that in your back pocket to really understand your personal why, because it is, and for whatever reason, passion, learning, contribution back around your skills. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that especially if you want to be on a for-profit, but even a not-for-profit, really do your homework. Go out and research the companies or the sectors or the not-for-profits, do your due diligence, as Heather said, uh, to really try and understand, where these organizations are in a particular industry or in a particular community and find out about them. So do your due diligence. And then
They be
third,
looking for, Jen?
pardon me?
What should people be looking for?
Yeah, I think this is a personal perspective, but I think you should be looking for boards that interest you, like either by what they're doing, and you have a passion for that if it's a not-for-profit, or by what they're selling, or potentially you have some background in a particular industry. It's got to be something that jazzes you because you're going to be hearing a lot about that sector and a lot about that area of your community. So something that really interests you.
Thank you.
What do you do in a situation where you're concerned about a fellow board member? I don't know if that's ever happened or if you can comment. What is your fiduciary? Do you have a fiduciary obligation to report or share information that maybe you're not comfortable with regarding another board member?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is your fiduciary responsibility. And, there's many ways to handle that. But if you typically, what a board member would do would be to first and foremost talk to the chair. The chair of the board is considered to be the leader of that board. And so there absolutely is, most chairs, I wouldn't say all, but certainly most chairs are responsible for those kinds of concerns. And then the chair will decide what to do with that. Because if it's something pretty sensitive, that could hurt the organization, there'll probably be some kind of investigation, et cetera. If it's something more from a style or personality perspective, I think you should still go talk to the chair, because it might be things like not sharing airtime or being disrespectful. Board dynamics are also a very interesting piece of this work, because you've got, 10 or 12 disparate people coming together that all are probably fairly strong, have strong opinions on things and experiences on things. And that's what you want on a board.
You're not necessarily paid to agree with everybody either, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's your fiduciary responsibility to have duty of care for the organization. And that typically involves robust but respectful debate amongst board members. And if that's not happening, I guess I would question whether or not that's a well-functioning board.
I'm sure that is a tremendous skill that is developed over time, the more board hours you experience.
Heather and I both have a lot of scars around that, I would say.
Not to scare anybody, but, like you do learn the hard, school of hard knocks sometimes, but, overall it can be a very, very positive and fulfilling experience. Honestly, there's always going to be something. It's just like in your job, right? There's always somebody that's a pain in the ass. But anyway, it's like,
but the learning, I have to tell you, and I think I speak for Heather on this too. We both have pretty successful careers, but I thoroughly enjoy this. And I personally am learning a lot still, which is one of the reasons that's my why, because I like to expand my brain and think about different things and also give back. But I'm learning a ton.
I just want to ask one question, and then I know that Lena's got a question. For those here that might not quite have experienced the different the hierarchies at the executive or at the C-suite, would you mind commenting on the difference between the responsibilities of the CEO, the president, the C-suite, the typical chief operating officers and financial officers and that sort of thing, and who typically does and does not participate at the board level? Or does it matter? Does it depend on the company or the size, or if it's public or private or not, or nonprofit, I should say?
Heather, do you want to?
Okay, sure. I'll take this one. Well, typically it's the CEO, president, and the senior executive team, so the C-suite, that meet with the board, because that's where the strategy is executed. And those are the decisions that need to be informed. That strategy needs to be informed by the executive team that is, executing on the strategy. So by sharing of information from, each of their areas of expertise and helping to inform strategy, that is a typical, and actually I don't think I've been on a board yet where they didn't have, the C-suite in the room for most of decisions, unless it's like in camera or just with the CEO. But typically, yeah, that's how you become informed of, what's going on in the organization, what the priorities are, and helps you to, to judge performance-based compensation, as well as how well they're executing on the strategy. So yeah, it's really important.
And Heather, typically are the C-suite, members of the C-suite on the board, or those are separate entities?
Yeah, typically the CEO can be a on the board as a non-voting member, and of course advise as to things that come along, decisions that come along. But no, typically, if there is anyone, it would be the CEO. What's your experience been, Jen?
Yeah, that's my experience. And the only thing I'd add to what you said, Heather, is that the board really only has one employee, and that one employee is the CEO. So, we often get into debates about this in some boards, because management needs to run the business, and the CEO is the leader of that business. And so, the board does the performance evaluation for the CEO. The board gives the CEO their compensation. The board asks for the CEO goals and stewards to those goals with the board. The rest of the C-suite, although as part of those meetings, and obviously, is very respectful of the board and our input, we have one employee, and that's the CEO.
And there's a question, and then I want to get to Lena. Do you grow in, and Willie is asking, do you grow into the role within a company, or can you be hired to be a board member even if you weren't in that industry prior? So basically, a board member is promoted, if I'm interpreting that correctly.
From within an organization, you mean? Yeah, no, not typically. No. Typically, it's an organization that you haven't worked for or worked with, even as a consultant. It's typically someone or an organization that, sorry, I've got this in my face here, is, you apply for that position, and it has typically to do either with the sector you're in or an area of expertise that you can provide that the board does not have. So a skill set or a sector, or even, completely diverse experience that they want, completely fresh perspective. It really depends on the board and the skill sets or the expertise that they're looking for. So, yeah.
Thank you. Lena, would you like to ask your question?
Yes. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you, ladies, for presenting this. It's a wealth of knowledge, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share this with us. I'm just wondering, would the president of your child's school PTA be considered a board position?
Yes, of course. That's giving back. That's a nonprofit, and PTA is a really important advocacy group that needs to be a part of. Again, the principal is reporting to that committee or to that board, and it is considered a nonprofit in my mind. Yes.
So would that then go sorry, I'm just going to ask one more follow-up question. Would that when you're putting it on your resume, would that then be under boards as opposed to volunteer experience? Where would be the most appropriate place to put that?
I would always put it under boards. It is a form of board. And I would, that's also volunteer, but it just looks better in that particular slot. So that's where I would put it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lena. Letitia, you've got a question.
Hi, ladies. It's mostly a comment. I'm from a financial background, and I dealt a lot with these board things. So the way I always understand it, because I try to explain things in a simpler way, so that if somebody doesn't get the technical terms, talk as if you're explaining to a 2-year-old. So the way I've always understood the board and its function is that you have a company, and the board, what the board does is it looks beyond the numbers. So the C-suite, they are in charge of the numbers, making sure that the company, the bottom line is good. But then now the board, what the board does is it goes beyond that, and then it adds, for example, the social side, the environmental side, the governance side, and all of that. So of course, then you can't have somebody who is within the active hand, the numbers, to be a really active part of the board, because there's not going to be separation of duties. So that's why they only have one employee, which is the CEO, and that's the only, he just gets there so that he knows what is his role in terms of numbers and what needs to be what he needs to drive with regards to numbers. But then now the board now has to come and say, okay, fine, we've achieved our numbers, but what about our social impact? Are we doing what we need to do on the social side? Are we doing what we need to do on a governance side? Are we doing what we need to do on an audit side? So that's where now the board comes in, and has a whole lot more duties, and of course they need independent people. They usually call it independent members, so that they are the separation of duties. Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct on all of those comments. The one thing that the board is also very responsible for is shareholder return. So that's where we get involved in the numbers. Even if their books look good, what are you doing to grow it in order to achieve shareholder return? What are you doing? What other areas of business do we need to be in order to expand our like our profitability? How do we grow this? So not actually kind of getting into the numbers and going, oh, you did that formula wrong, or that's the wrong way to do accounting. I mean, that's really up to the CAs and the audit, the audit team to help us with. Of course, you're going to ask questions about financials. You're going to see something. You're going to go, how come last time we saw this number was very different than this time? And so the board is always looking for what kind, why are things the way they are, but not necessarily fingers in telling them how to do it. But profitability is extremely important. And so I would say you're right on all those counts. Shareholders want to see a return on their investment.
And Heather, is shareholder return always measured in dollars and cents?
No, not always. It really depends on what kind of business you're in. So, so for example, shareholder return, I was board chair of United Way Calgary. It's about impact, right? So not necessarily like some of the social aspects that Letitia was talking about. It's very important as well. So there could be multiple ways for an organization multiple metrics for an organization, including shareholder return, including social, including the governance piece as well, and accountability. I mean, there's all sorts of performance metrics that go hand in hand, but depending on the organization, it typically is, when it's a for-profit, it's about shareholder return or profitability if it's a private company, right?
Thank you. Did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Hi, ladies. Good evening from Calgary, and thank you for being here. I just recently got my first board position in Canada because I was really looking to volunteer, and I sit on the governance committee. I'll tell you one thing that resonates with what you said was, I didn't realize how much work, right? I didn't, and it's great that it's something that I'm passionate about. It's for a nonprofit and isn't paid. My question is in twofold. Even while I was job hunting, I would take a look at the board layout for different organizations, and sometimes it's, I'm not sure how else to say this, but it's made up of people of the same shade and most likely sex. I know that there's the DEI coming up, DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion, coming up more and more, but I want to find out how important is DEI and the role of a board, and how important do organizations consider that in choosing their board? And number two is, how important is financial literacy? I have an MBA and a background in management accounting, but there are certain times when we're sitting with the financial committee that I still feel like a fish out of water. So how important are those two things in going forward, looking for board roles?
I'll start, Heather, and then take it over to you. So DEI, especially in the for-profit space, but I would say across the board in Crown Corps as well as not-for-profits, is probably one of the most singular points of discussions that boards continue to have, especially over the last 8 years. And part of the reason for that, besides it's the right thing to do, and all the stats that Heather talked about, like boards with more diverse people on them. The literature is out, the research is definitive. They outperform other companies that do not have that diversity. Besides that, what you have in Canada and in fact in North America are what's called regulators of boards. ISS and Glass Lewis specifically. And their mandate is to ensure that boards are doing their work properly. And for example, in the last 3 years, ISS has voted down will vote down a slate of directors if it is not 30% female. And starting in 2024, they will also vote down the governance chair, the committee that oversees getting new directors. They will vote down that director in their slate if there is not at least one person of a different ethnicity. So the regulators are getting, I think, properly more aligned with what society is expecting of boards now. And I would also say that because of what we've been through as a society, the Me Too movement, it's just the right thing to do now. So I think DEI, I can't tell you how many, this is a topic in my boards every quarter that we talk about. And we look at demographics. We have a slate, a long list of candidates and we keep a slate of board candidates in various capacities with capabilities and skills to ensure that we are going after that. The second thing I would say is that if you don't have financial literacy, it is highly unlikely you will be on a public board. It is a critical skill. And it doesn't mean you have to be.
To what extent, Jen? To what extent?
Yeah.
If she's like got a management accounting background, is that not enough?
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. You know, your ability, I'm not a CA by background. I am not a CPA. I have to be able to understand and read all of the financials and understand what the financials are saying, understand the concept of return on investment, understand those key critical financial metrics, understand the value drivers of the business, and how they make their profit and what the margins are. You know, boards are no longer can afford to have, you know, just an HR person on it or just an accountant on it or just an engineer. You've got to have some of those skills that go across the entirety of an organization, and one of them for sure is financial literacy.
Looking at the time, and it's now an hour has passed. There are 2 ladies that have had their hands up for a while. Can you spare 2 more questions?
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, Catherine, please.
Sorry, thank you so very much for your insight, and thank you so much, Jackie, for putting this on. My big question is, I've been serving on a couple of not-for-profit boards and really love it in terms of philosophical alignment, what my values are. And of course, the first one I started was like the worst kind of board, which is the condo board. I have to say, the condo board is absolutely amazing for learning the financials, learning how, you know, a corporation is run. So, you know, I have an HR background, and for me, the last, I don't know, 13 years of being on this board has been absolutely game changing for me. I'm now vice chair of a not-for-profit, and that one was because of purpose and passion and really wanting to do meaningful work. But one thing that I would like to also get into eventually is to kind of also not lessen my participation, I suppose, with the not-for-profit sector boards, but I'd like to kind of go into the for-profit sector as well. What do you think is really good, or what is the best strategy for kind of dipping my toes into that part of the that for-profit board area?
Well, I mean, you've already made a good start by, you know, being on a not-for-profit board. And I think, you know, depending on your background and your area of interest, one thing that Jen and I always recommend is you go after what it is that you want. So you don't wait for someone to come and tap you on the shoulder. You say, I want to go sit on that board. And so you find out who is the chair of the governance committee. You meet with them, you talk to them, you tell them about your passion and your interest in your skill sets, and you go for it yourself. Because, like what a lot of, us do, and I'm not saying that I'm any different than anybody else, is you wait for the call. It's like, no, forget that. It's time for us all now to kind of say, let's just take this into our own hands and let's do that. So you want to dip your toe, do it. And go after what you want. Absolutely. Jen, did you want to add?
Great advice.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Love it.
the only thing I would add quickly is that do your research again. Like find the sectors that you think you have the most, say, content knowledge in, where it would be obvious that you could add something to that business other than just your HR skills, right?
Oh, and by the way, join Board Ready Women.
Oh, you've been on my radar actually for about 4 months. And so this is totally serendipitous. So that, and I actually do want to do the ICD, kind of take the ICD path. So I'm really excited.
You know what? That's great. Jackie will make sure that you guys get the information when we go to Montreal, Toronto, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver.
Amazing.
And when we have, any of our events in Calgary, of course, we're always recording it. So it's a webinar. So always welcome to come to our events. And this, you're getting a taste of what it is. Jen and I are very honest, and we get ourselves into a lot of trouble. That's okay, because this is not for, we're not trying to impress anybody. This is about getting more women on boards. That's what we're doing.
Which is part and parcel as to why both of you have been so successful. You're not just drinking somebody else's Kool-Aid.
Thank you.
Okay, Kathy, you had a question. Thank you very much, Catherine.
Yes, I want to preface my question by saying I'm not intending for this to be a political question, a political issue at all, but I'm just trying to get what are your thoughts on the Alberta Health Services Board being all fired and replaced with one physician? And is that a unique situation of a public board where there is someone over them who has that power to get rid of them all and replace them with one person who they feel shares more of their vision?
I'm going to let Heather take this. She's an expert at this.
Well, this is a particular passion of mine, the healthcare system.
Yeah, me too.
Drives me crazy. And that particular board is one that I've been a big part of because, I'm chairing the Cancer Center campaign. So I know the CEOs, I know the boards, and this one came out of nowhere. And it's because they feel it's the government that's made this decision. They feel that this is how you make step function change. And, I'm in the school where you don't know what you don't know.
I have to just give Heather a plug here. I don't, many of you do not know this probably, but the new Cancer Center in Calgary, which will be, I think, the largest, not only in Canada, but kind of maybe the
second in North America, second largest
in North America. Heather and a couple of other people, but mostly Heather, is the sole reason that is here, just so you know. That's how much she was involved.
It takes a village, for God's sakes, but thank you for saying.
I'm just telling you, like behind the scenes, she's been working on this for like 5 years and
12 years.
Okay, 12 years. So a long time. And the reason it's here is because of my friend Heather. I'm just saying.
You're just saying. Well, thank you, Jen. I mean, it takes a village. It's not just me, but somebody has to lead the charge, right? If not me, then who?
Well, I mean, both of you have been the change that you've wanted to see and that others want to see in the world. And, it takes somebody to be the activator, the initiator to get these causes, these movements off the ground. And, looking at both of your careers, it's very apparent that you live and breathe what you're speaking. So we are just so grateful for not just your education and the information that you've shared today, but for being such an inspiration to every person that has attended today. I know that I and my whole team and everybody here, I'm sure, is eternally grateful. We're keeping you almost 10 minutes over the hour, and I want to be respectful of time. If you want to stay on, carry on with questions, that's entirely up to you. But I just wanted to ask, are you okay if we share today's recording with the attendees?
I'm fine with it. I guess, obviously there's some sensitive things on here, but of course, everyone's professional and that's up to you. So again, reputation is everything. That's the most important rule.
Beautiful.
Are you okay, Jen?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions? There's been a lot of questions in the chat and I haven't been able to keep up to them. Allison, I know that Allison Gray, she used to be one of our Grizzly chairs, is here. Is there anything that you would like to contribute, Allison? I know you've got a fabulous background in the public sector.
Yeah, no, I just really want to say a thank you and a shout out to Heather and Jennifer, because this is an area that has kind of always been in the back of my mind. And honestly, it's like you've given me a kick in the what to really look at, how do I give back? How do I contribute? Because I feel like we have an obligation to do that when we are passionate about what we do, when we're educated and we have some skills. And I really want to say thank you. It's been awesome.
Oh, you're very welcome.
It's about women helping women.
It
by
is.
The way.
It is absolutely.
Question, ladies. I know we've talked a lot about the benefits to our participants here to be on a board. What are the benefits to an organization for having females as board members?
I'll start just by saying I got to tell you, like I said before, the research which tell you that actually 2 or more women on the board increases the profitability to your organization if you're a for-profit. I would also say, and not, this isn't a blanket stereotypical comment, but I would say that most women who enter board work are not afraid to speak truth to power, respectfully, professionally. And there's a lot of men like that too, but I think it changes some of the dynamic in the room when more women are on the boards around that particular attribute.
How do we build that muscle, Jen? How do women build that muscle?
Speaking truth to power?
Yes.
You got to find your own confidence, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It starts with you being confident about what you're talking about. And self-esteem, I would say, is a big one, and confidence, but it can be done, especially for areas that you're passionate about. That's why I
step out of my comfort zone every single day. There's not a day where I'm going, why did I do that? Why did I say that? It's like, because I have my beliefs and I do it. I believe very respectfully, but you do, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself to be honest, and if you want to do good in the world, to speak your truth. And it's not always comfortable.
You're not living your lives worrying about what everyone else is thinking.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I do have to jump, you guys, because I'm sitting in my son's office in his house, and he actually needs it.
What?
Yeah, he has to jump on a call.
Okay. All right.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Okay,
thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
everyone.
guys.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good to see you all.
Our pleasure.
Thank you
Nice to
very
meet you
much.
all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.